The soup kitchen was almost empty that evening, just a few regulars huddled in corners, holding onto their trays like lifelines. The flickering light above the counter buzzed softly, casting a tired glow over the woman who worked the line. Her name was Carla. She wasn't old, but life had worn down her edges. Grease stains on her apron. Quiet voice. The kind of woman who didn't expect much from anyone anymore, especially not from strangers who walked in with nothing but broken dreams and dirty shoes. Then he came in. He didn't look like someone you'd notice twice. Limping slightly, hunched in a way that made him seem smaller than he was. His hoodie was 2 sizes too big, and his shoes had holes near the soles. He didn't meet anyone's eyes as he moved toward the back table, but there was something in his presence, some quiet defiance that made Carla pause. Maybe it was the way he sat, straightening his back like he didn't belong there, like he refused to. He waited until the line cleared before walking up to the counter. He didn't ask for much, just what was left. A little of this, a little of that. Carla gave him a plate, mostly rice, some beans, a spoonful of something green, and slid it across the counter. He didn't thank her. He didn't smile. He just said, "I can heal people." Carla blinked. "Excuse me. I can take pain away," he said, setting the plate down and leaning forward. His eyes were clear now, piercing. Not the eyes of a con artist or a beggar. Something else. "You've got an old injury in your shoulder, right? Left side. You feel it worse when it rains." She narrowed her eyes but didn't answer. He smiled faintly like he already knew. "I'll fix it. 4 leftovers." That was when she laughed. Loud. The kind of laugh that came from a place that didn't believe in miracles anymore. "You'll fix my shoulder," she scoffed. "For scraps." He didn't respond right away. Just stood there, letting the moment hang in the air. "You're kidding, right?" she added. "No," he said. "But I don't do it for free." That was the moment Carla almost told him to get lost. She'd heard her fair share of stories. Seen enough people walk through those doors with wild eyes and tangled truths. But something in his voice made her hesitate. Just for a second. "What's your name?" she finally asked. "Tyson." "Tyson what?" "Just Tyson." She shook her head and turned away, pretending she wasn't intrigued. But the truth was, she hadn't told anyone about her shoulder. Not in years. And definitely not some stranger who just wandered in off the street. Later that night, when the place was closed and the last tray had been scrubbed, Carla found herself rubbing her shoulder more than usual. The rain hadn't even started yet, but the ache was already creeping in. She glanced out the window. He was still out there, sitting on the curb, watching the street like he was waiting for something to happen. Or maybe just hoping it would. Carla didn't go out there. She told herself it was foolish. But she didn't sleep much that night either. The next day Tyson came back. Same limp, same hoodie, same quiet stare. Only this time he didn't wait in line. He just walked straight up to the counter and handed her a single paperclip. "What's this?" she asked. "Proof." She raised an eyebrow. "Check your shoulder," he said simply. Carla rolled her eyes. "Look man, I don't know what kind of game. Just check." With a sigh she reached up, rotated her arm. Stretched, froze. There was no pain. Not even a twinge. She said nothing at first. Just stared at him, then at the paperclip. "What did you do?" "I told you," he said calmly. "I fix pain." "How?" He shrugged. "Everyone's got something broken. I just see it differently. Put it back the way it was. But I can't do it for nothing." Carla stared at him long and hard. "What do you want?" He didn't smile. Didn't blink. "A chance." She didn't understand. Not yet. But that was just the beginning. Because Tyson wasn't just some street kid with a strange gift. He had a past, a dark one. And a story no one believed anymore. He used to be someone. Used to have everything. Future. Scholarship. Plan. Until one day everything changed. A freak accident left him paralyzed from the waist down. Doctors gave up. Friends disappeared. The world moved on. But Tyson didn't. What no one knew was that the accident had given him more than pain. It had unlocked something in him. Something unexplainable. The ability to feel other people's pain as if it were his own, and take it away. But every time he did, it took something from him too. Now, all he had left was what he carried in his pockets and the stories in his eyes. He wasn't looking for money. Not fame. Just a reason to keep going. Place to belong. Second chance. And Carla. She was about to be the first person to give him that. But not everyone would be as kind. Because soon word would spread. People would want to use him. Control him. Some would pretend to help while hiding darker motives. And one woman, someone Carla hadn't seen in years, would come back into her life with a smile full of lies and a past full of secrets. She'd laugh at Tyson too. Only this time, the joke would be on her. Because everything was about to change. And no one, especially not her, was ready for what came next. Tyson didn't come back for 2 days. Carla kept watching the front door, even though she told herself not to. Told herself he was probably just another lost soul with a good story and clever tricks. But her shoulder still didn't hurt. And every time she rolled it, stretched it, reached above her head without that familiar sharp ache, she thought of him. On the 3rd day he returned. This time he had a bruise on his cheek, swollen and purple. He didn't say anything about it, and Carla didn't ask. She just handed him a plate of hot food, no questions, no stares. He took it with a soft nod and sat in his usual corner. Quiet. Ill. But his eyes, they scanned the room like he was waiting for something bad to follow him in. Rough night? Carla asked gently when she walked by. He didn't look up. Just said, "Not the worst." That was all. Later, after closing, she brought him a blanket. The nights were getting colder. He didn't thank her, but he unfolded it slowly, like it meant more than he wanted to admit. That night, Carla stayed later than usual. She was mopping the floors when she heard footsteps outside. First she thought it was Tyson. But when she peeked out the window, it wasn't him. It was a woman in a bright red coat, standing across the street. Watching. Her face was hidden by the shadows, but there was something familiar about the way she stood. Confident. Ill. Cold. Carla blinked, and the woman was gone. The next morning, Tyson was already there, sitting by the curb with a torn backpack at his feet. Carla unlocked the door and waved him in, and for the first time she saw him hesitate. "You all right?" she asked. He nodded, but his eyes drifted behind her toward the street. "She's here." "Who?" "You'll see," he said. "Soon." Carla didn't press. Instead, she handed him a fresh cup of coffee. He looked surprised but took it. His hands shook slightly as he sipped. She noticed the tremor but pretended not to. After breakfast, Carla found him outside again, this time sitting on the steps, fiddling with a tiny object in his hand. Button. Old and worn with some kind of engraving on it. She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You keep a lot of weird things," she said. "They're not things," he replied without looking up. "They're memories." "Memories of what?" He finally looked at her. "People I couldn't help." Carla felt something in her chest twist. "Is that why you're here now? Trying again?" Tyson didn't answer. Just slipped the button into his pocket and changed the subject. "You ever hear about the Montclair fire?" Carla frowned. "Yeah. That big house up north that burned down years ago." "Why?" "I lived there." She blinked. "Wait, the foster home." Tyson nodded. "You were one of the Montclair kids." "For a while," he said quietly. "Until it all went wrong." Carla sat beside him slowly. "They said it was an accident. Electrical." "They lied," he whispered. "And someone paid to keep it that way." Carla didn't know what to say. Everyone in town remembered the fire. 12 kids had lived there. Only 6 made it out. Tyson had never told her his last name, but now she knew. "Tyson Clark," she said softly. He didn't deny it. Carla felt a chill crawl up her arms. "Why come back here?" After all these years. Tyson's voice was low. Because someone's cleaning up the past. I just didn't know I was next. She stared at him. You think someone's trying to hurt you? I don't think, he said. I know. Before she could respond, a sleek black car pulled up across the street. Out stepped the woman in the red coat. Carla's breath caught. It was Jasmine. They hadn't spoken in over a decade, not since the lawsuit that tore apart their partnership. Jasmine had been the face of the foundation. Carla had been the heart. And when the money disappeared, so did Jasmine. Now here she was. Same confident stride. Same icy smile. Carla stepped forward, instincts on edge. Jasmine crossed the street slowly, heels clicking against the sidewalk. Well, she said with a fake smile. Isn't this nostalgic? Tyson stood quietly beside Carla, his body tense. What are you doing here, Jasmine? Carla asked. Just visiting an old friend, she said, eyes flicking to Tyson. You've been busy. Carla folded her arms. You always had a way of showing up when you weren't wanted. Jasmine laughed, soft and practiced. You always think you're protecting someone. It's cute, really. Tyson took a step forward. What do you want? Jasmine looked at him fully now, her smile tightening. I heard about your talent. Carla's stomach turned. You stay away from him. Jasmine didn't flinch. Relax. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just think we might help each other. I have investors who'd love to meet someone with your abilities. He's not for sale, Carla snapped. Jasmine's eyes sparkled with something sharp. Everything is, Carla. You just haven't learned that yet. She turned to leave but paused. Oh, and Tyson, watch your back. Not everyone who wants your help plans to pay for it. She walked away, leaving silence behind her. Tyson didn't say a word. Just stared at the street long after the car disappeared. Carla finally spoke. She's not the only one looking for you, is she? No, he said. But she's the most dangerous. Carla stepped closer. Tell me what's going on. Tyson's face was hard now, older than it should have looked. They want to use me, like they used the others. But it's not just about pain anymore. It's about control. What kind of control? The kind that turns people into weapons, he said. They want to own what I can do. Decide who deserves to be healed, and who doesn't. Carla felt her knees weaken. And you think Jasmine's part of that? She was part of it before. She's back because it's starting again. The wind picked up, blowing dust across the pavement. Storm was coming. Tyson pulled something from his backpack and handed it to her. Photo. Old and faded. A group of children standing in front of the Montclair home, smiling for the camera. Carla looked closer. There in the back row was Tyson. And next to him, a boy with piercing blue eyes. Carla pointed. Who's that? Tyson's voice dropped to a whisper. That's the one who didn't make it out. At least, that's what they told us. Carla looked at him, confused. You think he's alive? I don't think, Tyson repeated. I know. She opened her mouth to say something, but a loud crash echoed down the street, glass shattering, metal clanging. They turned toward the sound. And Tyson's voice was calm but urgent. It's starting. Carla felt it too. Something was happening, and they were running out of time. Carla rushed toward the alley where the crash came from, her heart racing. Tyson followed close behind, limping faster than she'd ever seen him move. When they turned the corner, they found the dumpster tipped over, its contents spilled across the pavement. Nothing unusual at first, until Carla saw the shadow duck behind a stack of crates. She froze. Tyson didn't. He stepped forward and called out, I know you're there. For a few seconds, silence. Then a kid no older than 15 stepped into the open. Skinny, nervous, wearing a tattered jacket and mismatched sneakers. His eyes darted between them, scared but not apologetic. I wasn't stealing, he said quickly. I was just hungry. Carla softened. You hurt. The boy shook his head. No. Just cold. Tyson knelt with effort, ignoring the pain in his legs. What's your name? The boy hesitated. Dion. Tyson nodded like he already knew. You from the shelters? Used to be, Dion muttered. Not anymore. Carla exchanged a look with Tyson, and something passed silently between them. He handed the boy his own jacket without a word. Dion stared at it, unsure. Take it, Tyson said. You'll need it more than me tonight. Carla stepped in. Come inside. We'll get you something warm. That night, Dion sat near the heater with a bowl of soup, his eyes wide as he watched Tyson from across the room. Something about him, how calm he was, how focused, made Dion trust him faster than he trusted most adults. Tyson didn't ask questions right away. He let the boy speak when he was ready, and after a while, Dion began to talk. He'd been part of a group of runaway teens hiding out near the train yard. Said they weren't safe at the shelters anymore. Said something had changed. That staff members were disappearing. Kids too. Quietly, without anyone reporting it. And the ones who did return weren't the same. Carla leaned forward. What do you mean? Dion looked down. They didn't talk anymore. Not like before. It's like they'd been rewired. Like something inside them got shut off. Tyson's jaw tightened. Did any of them mention Montclair? Dion flinched slightly. One of them did. A girl named Kayla. She said the name once like it slipped out. And she looked terrified after. Said she remembered a fire. But Montclair's been gone, right? Carla's throat went dry. Tyson leaned back slowly. No, the house is gone. But not the people behind it. Over the next few days, Tyson and Carla started connecting dots. Tyson wrote names on a small notebook page. The kids who survived the fire, the staff who vanished after the accident, and now these runaway teens showing strange behavior. Patterns were emerging. Ones no one else seemed to notice or wanted to. Meanwhile, Jasmine didn't disappear. She started showing up again. Not at the kitchen but in town. Meetings with city officials. Smiling for photos. Donating to youth programs. Rebuilding her image. Carla couldn't stand it. She's planting seeds, she said one night as she closed the blinds. Making herself look like the hero before anyone knows what she's really doing. Tyson nodded. She's hiding something. And she's not working alone. Then came the man in the gray suit. He appeared one evening after sunset, standing across the street with a briefcase in hand, not saying a word, just watching. Tyson saw him first, and froze. That's him, he whispered. One of the Montclair doctors. Carla peeked through the curtain. He looks like a lawyer. He used to run experiments, Tyson said. Said they were behavioral studies for developmentally delayed children. But we weren't sick. We were just poor. Carla's breath caught. He's still after you. Not just me, Tyson said, eyes fixed on the street. All of us who got away. Over the next week the pressure built. A car with tinted windows parked outside the soup kitchen more often. Carla's phone started getting strange calls. Dead air on the other end. And one morning Dion didn't show up. They found his backpack by the train yard. No sign of him. That night Tyson didn't speak. He just sat on the floor, legs stretched out, eyes staring at nothing. Carla sat beside him, quietly. They didn't need words. They both knew. This wasn't just about Tyson's gift. It was about power, control, repeating history in a way no one would see, unless someone like Tyson pulled the curtain back. Later, when the kitchen was empty, Carla found an envelope tucked under the door. Inside was a single photo. Tyson as a boy at Montclair, but standing next to a man she'd never seen before. Behind them, written in red ink. He's still alive. Tyson stared at the photo for a long time. That's Jordan, he said finally. He was my best friend. The one who didn't make it. Carla touched the paper gently. You think he's part of this now? I don't know, Tyson said. But if he is, They've done something to him. Something bad. And that was when Carla realized. They weren't just fighting for Tyson's safety anymore. They were fighting for the truth. Because someone had buried the past deep. And they were determined to keep it that way, no matter who got hurt in the process. But Tyson, he wasn't going to run anymore. And Carla wasn't going to let him stand alone. Not this time. Not again. The next morning everything felt different. The sky hung low with gray clouds, thick and heavy, as if even the weather knew something was about to break. Carla stood at the kitchen sink, staring out the window, hands buried in soapy water but mind far away. Tyson hadn't come back the night before. He said he needed to think, needed time alone. She didn't press him. She trusted him now, but deep down, a knot of worry was forming. A knock at the back door startled her. Not the front, never the front. That was Tyson's quiet code. She dried her hands and opened the door slowly. He stood there, rain clinging to his hoodie, eyes distant. They moved him, Tyson said. Who? Jordan. Carla pulled him inside, locking the door behind them. How do you know? Tyson handed her a folded note, scribbled on the back of a soup label. Same guy who left the photo. He's watching them. Said they're taking Jordan to the old observatory outside town. Tonight. Carla read the note twice. Why there? Isolation. No witnesses. That place has been abandoned for years. Until now, she whispered. Tyson nodded. They're going to erase him, Carla. Wipe whatever's left of who he was. Turn him into another shadow. Carla sat down hard on the bench. We need to stop them. Tyson's voice was calm, but his eyes burned. Then we go tonight. They spent the day quietly preparing. Tyson charged an old flip phone with a battery he found in the back closet. Carla packed a first aid kit and 2 flashlights. She didn't know what they were walking into, but she knew one thing. This wasn't just about Jordan anymore. It was about all the kids who never got a voice. All the names written off in file cabinets or buried in forgotten police reports. This was about Dion. About the others. About Tyson, who'd survived everything meant to break him. At sunset, they left the soup kitchen. No one saw them go. The road to the observatory was narrow and overgrown, hidden behind trees and rusted fences. Carla drove slow, hands tight on the wheel. Tyson sat in the passenger seat, silent, focused. He hadn't said a word since they passed the city limits. But Carla could feel his tension. Filled the car like fog. We could still call someone, she offered. He shook his head. They've already paid off who matters. We go in quiet. We get Jordan out. The car reached a bend in the road, and the observatory came into view. It looked like a broken lighthouse swallowed by the forest, its dome roof cracked and streaked with rust. A black SUV was parked near the entrance. 2 men in suits stood by the door, talking into earpieces. Tyson pointed. That's them. Same ones who took Dion. Carla pulled off the road, parking behind a wall of trees. They stepped out quietly, crouching low as they moved toward the back of the building. A side door hung crooked on its hinges. Tyson tested it gently. It gave without a sound. Inside, the air was stale and damp. Their footsteps echoed on the concrete floor as they crept through the dark. The walls were covered in peeling paint, and every room looked like it had been abandoned for years, except for one. Near the center of the observatory was a room with light spilling through a cracked window. Tyson peeked in. His jaw clenched. Jordan was there, strapped to a chair, ill, eyes wide with fear. Electrodes wired to his head. And standing beside him was Jasmine. Carla pulled Tyson back before he could charge in. We need a plan, she whispered. Tyson shook his head. There's no time. They crept around to the other side of the room, trying to stay out of sight. Through a vent, they could hear Jasmine's voice. You remember now, don't you? She cooed. You remember who you were. But more importantly, who you are now. Jordan's voice trembled. Please don't do this again. You're not sick, Jordan, Jasmine said. You're special. And they'll pay anything for someone like you. Carla felt her stomach twist. It was worse than she thought. This wasn't just a cover-up. This was human trafficking on another level, selling control, selling minds. Jordan wasn't the only one. Tyson had been right all along. Tyson turned to Carla, his voice low and urgent. I'm going in. I need you to cut the power when I say. She grabbed his arm. What if they catch you? I can handle it. But your legs. I don't need to walk to do what I came here to do. Before she could argue, he was gone, slipping through the door like a shadow. Carla moved fast, heading toward the utility box they passed earlier in the hall. Her fingers shook as she pried it open. The wires looked ancient, barely hanging together. Inside the main room, Tyson stepped forward. Jasmine turned, her smile freezing. Well, I was wondering when you'd show up. Tyson didn't flinch. Let him go. She shook her head. He's not yours anymore. Tyson stepped closer. Neither am I. Jasmine signaled the two men near the wall. They moved fast, reaching for him, but before they could grab him, Tyson shouted, Now! Carla yanked the wires. Sparks flew. The lights went out. In the chaos, Tyson lunged forward, knocking over a tray of metal tools and slamming his fist onto the control board. The electrodes sparked, and Jordan screamed, but not from pain. Something snapped inside him, something that had been sleeping too long. His eyes locked onto Tyson's. Ty, he whispered. I've got you, Tyson said, reaching to undo the straps. You're coming home. But then came the sound they dreaded, a gun cocking. Step away, Jasmine said in the dark, her voice like ice. Or I swear, I'll put an end to both of you. Tyson froze. Carla, still crouched near the hallway, couldn't see them, but she could hear it. She reached for her phone, ready to call for help. And then a light flickered behind her. Flashlight. Another man. Not one of the guards. Someone else. He didn't speak. Just raised his arm. And everything went black. Carla's head slammed against the floor as everything spun and dimmed. A muffled buzzing filled her ears, and for a few long seconds, she couldn't tell if she was dreaming or slipping out of consciousness. Her vision blurred, shapes shifting like smoke until a harsh voice cut through the fog. She moved, someone said. Tie her up. Now. Cold zip ties bit into her wrists. Her flashlight rolled across the floor and stopped near a pair of polished boots. The man who hit her stood over her, tall, clean-cut, with no emotion in his eyes. Not like the guards, they were just muscle. He wasn't. You're lucky, he muttered. Most people don't get this close to the truth and live. Carla tried to speak, but her mouth felt dry. Her pulse throbbed in her ears. She saw, just behind the man, a strange briefcase with a glowing blue lock on the clasp. Something clinical, like it belonged in a lab, not in an old observatory. Inside the room, Tyson's voice echoed again. Jordan, stay with me. A loud crash followed. Carla tried to twist toward the sound, but the man grabbed her and dragged her back down the hall. Her mind screamed. Tyson's still in there. Jordan is still strapped to that chair. She had to do something, but how? Then a second voice. You weren't supposed to come, Carla. Her eyes widened as the man in the red coat stepped out of the shadows. Not Jasmine. Man. Wearing her red coat. The same one Carla thought she saw days ago in the dark. He pulled down his hood. He gasped. It was the social worker from Montclair, Mr. Ellis. Long presumed dead in the fire. He'd been the quiet one, always in the background. He was supposed to have been asleep in the East Wing that night. But now, standing in front of her, very much alive. His eyes were anything but gentle. You remember me now, he said calmly. That's good. You were always the one asking too many questions. You. Carla's voice cracked. You ran Montclair. Not just supervised it. His smile tightened. I built it. Every inch. But they burned it down before the project was complete. So I moved the work underground. Quietly. Selectively. You used children, Carla growled. You tortured them. We tested them, he snapped. For resilience. For enhancement. For what the human brain is truly capable of. And Tyson. Tyson was our biggest success. Carla shook her head, horrified. You're insane. Ellis leaned down. Tyson thinks he got lucky. He doesn't realize we made him what he is. Meanwhile, inside the observatory's main room, the chaos had escalated. Tyson, still shielding Jordan, faced off against Jasmine and one of the guards. The control board sparked behind them, wires dangling and smoking. Jasmine's gun hand shook slightly. You don't want to do this, Tyson warned. She laughed, brittle and breathless. Don't pretend like you're not dangerous. You think you're different. You're not. You're a product. A blueprint. I'm not what you made, he said. Behind him Jordan stirred. Tyson. They're in my head. I can hear them. Tyson looked back. Fight it. You know who you are. You're not alone. Suddenly Jordan's body convulsed, eyes rolling back. The chair rattled violently, as if energy was pulsing through it again, even without power. Jasmine screamed. He's activating. Get him out of the chair. Tyson shouted. But before he could move, the room was flooded with white light. Generators kicked in. The emergency power systems roared to life. On a wall screen behind Jasmine, biometric data scrolled rapidly. Heart rate, brain waves, chemical levels. All Jordan's. A countdown appeared in the corner. 3 minutes. Carla, dragged into the control room by Ellis, saw the screen and froze. What is that? The upload, Ellis said calmly. We're preserving Jordan's neural map before the system collapses. A digital consciousness. This is no longer about fixing pain. It's about controlling the mind. Tyson caught sight of her. Carla. She strained against the zip ties. Tyson, he's not saving Jordan. He's extracting him. But Tyson didn't have time to respond. Jordan was trembling violently now, blood running from his nose. It hurts, Ty, it hurts. Then, without warning, Jordan's voice changed. Deeper. Monotone. Not his own. Transfer complete, it said. The room fell into silence. Jasmine stared, horrified. That's not him. No, Ellis said, stepping forward, proud. That's the first version of the protocol. Now replicated. But Jordan, whatever was left of him, opened his eyes. And they glowed faint blue. Tyson stepped back, a chill crawling down his spine. Jordan, he whispered. The boy stood, chains falling loose. I remember you, the voice said. But not the way you hope. Then he turned and looked straight at Ellis. Father. Everyone froze. Carla gasped. Ellis only smiled. Yes, he said. Finally. Before anyone could react, the building trembled, lights flickering again. Something was wrong with the generator. Smoke leaked from the wiring above. Sparks fell from the ceiling. Then a new voice echoed from the hallway. Whoa. Familiar. This ends tonight. It was Dion. Alive. And he wasn't alone. Behind him, silhouetted in the smoke, were the other missing kids. The ones Tyson thought were gone. Hilla. Marcus. Liam. Changed maybe, but standing. Wait. Holding what looked like stolen lab equipment and old records. Tyson's heart slammed in his chest. How? He breathed. Dion stepped forward, eyes locked on Ellis. We remember now. Everything. And Ellis, for the first time, looked afraid. She stared at him like he had just grown wings. For a moment it was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet that settles right before the sky splits open. Across the table, Marcus sat calmly, holding her gaze, not flinching. His words hung in the air. I was never trying to prove anything. I just wanted to see if someone could see me. Without the chair, without the money. Tasha blinked, her smirk fading. The laughter she once held onto, so tightly like a shield, vanished. It wasn't just about leftovers anymore. This was something deeper. Something she hadn't expected. For weeks, she thought she had him figured out. Rich, paralyzed, still chasing validation. But now, it was her who was feeling small in the mirror of his quiet strength. Marcus had gone from a forgotten boy in a broken neighborhood to a millionaire not through luck, but grit. But it wasn't the money that made him powerful. It was that he hadn't let his injury harden him. He hadn't let the world's cruelty turn him cruel. And somehow, even after everything, he still wanted to heal others, emotionally, spiritually, and now, in his own quiet way, maybe even her. The dinner table sat between them like a final test. The food long cold, untouched since she had laughed in his face. But now Tasha looked at it differently. She remembered the way he had said, "I'll heal you for leftovers," and realized he hadn't been joking. He had seen something in her from the beginning, something broken she had buried beneath makeup and sharp comebacks. "I didn't come here to be saved," she said finally, her voice smaller than she expected. Marcus tilted his head. "Didn't say you did. But sometimes people come into your life not to save you, but to remind you that you're worth saving." Tasha bit her lip. The room suddenly felt too warm. She stood up, ready to leave, to walk out before she let herself feel something real. But just as her hand reached the door, his phone buzzed. The sound was sharp, urgent. He picked it up and his face went pale. "What is it?" she asked, her voice tightening. Marcus didn't answer at first. His eyes scanned the screen. "It's from a number I don't recognize. But it says, 'We know about the clinic. We know what you did. You can't hide forever.'" Her stomach dropped. "What clinic?" Marcus's hands were trembling now. "Before I was injured, before the millions. I worked in a private research facility. We were developing experimental therapies. I volunteered for one, something that was supposed to accelerate nerve regeneration. But there were side effects. And a cover-up. A girl died, and they buried the trial. When I went public with it, I was discredited. Then the accident happened. I always thought it was bad luck. But maybe it wasn't." Now it made sense. The guarded look in his eyes, the layers beneath his calm. He wasn't just a paralyzed millionaire. He was a whistleblower. And someone out there hadn't forgotten. The door suddenly rattled. Both of them jumped. Marcus looked at her, panic starting to crack his calm exterior. "I need to show you something," he said, rolling toward the bookshelf across the room. Behind a stack of old finance books, he pulled out a small locked case. He opened it and handed her a flash drive. "Everything's on here. The files they tried to erase. The girl's medical records, the reports. If anything happens to me." "Stop," she said, gripping the drive. "Nothing's gonna happen. You're not alone anymore." But even as she said it, the fear was real. The email, the knock at the door, the past creeping into the present. Tasha realized this wasn't just Marcus's story anymore. It had become hers too. The room was silent again, heavy with secrets. Somewhere outside, a car idled too long. A shadow moved past the frosted glass of the front window. Marcus looked up. "There's something else you need to know. I wasn't the only one in that trial. There was a second subject. And they survived. But they disappeared before the accident. I think they're trying to finish what the company started. And I think they know I'm close to exposing them." Tasha felt her breath catch. "What are we going to do?" Marcus gave a faint smile, eyes steady despite the tension tightening around them. "We don't run." Before she could ask what that meant, the door swung open. A figure stood in the doorway, backlit, face hidden in the shadows. Not a stranger but someone familiar. "Hello, Marcus," the man said. "Been a long time." Marcus's expression froze. "Jared." Tasha looked between them, stunned. "You know him." "He was Subject A," Marcus whispered. "I was Subject B." The man stepped inside, closing the door gently behind him. "And now you're both in this together." Everything Tasha thought she understood shattered in that moment. The millionaire in the wheelchair. The girl with nothing but sarcasm. The ghost from a hidden past. And the truth sitting like a storm cloud ready to break. Nothing would ever be the same again. The room was still, as if the very air was holding its breath. Malcolm sat in silence, watching her. Jasmine's face, usually so full of pride and quick wit, now held something different. Remorse or maybe realization. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The way she looked at him said it all. Everything she thought she knew had changed. The boy who once offered healing in exchange for leftovers was no longer just a poor kid with scars. He was a man who had built something from pain, and in the process had found his purpose. After the gala, stories spread quickly. Not just about the moment Jasmine broke down on stage, but about Malcolm. His foundation, his recovery, the quiet power of his journey. Local news stations picked up the story, calling it the rise of the paralyzed millionaire. He hated the label, but he understood it. People needed a name for what they didn't understand. And somehow, seeing his story framed like that made it feel even more real. Jasmine didn't leave town. She stayed quietly. No grand gestures, no press statements. Just silence. Until one afternoon, a knock came on the side door of the foundation center. Malcolm was alone, helping a little boy learn how to use his new wheelchair. The boy was giggling, gripping the wheels for the first time like he had just discovered flight. When Malcolm opened the door, Jasmine stood there. No makeup, hair tied back, holding a pie of all things. "I didn't know what to bring," she said awkwardly. "This is peach. I remember you liked it when we were kids." He looked at her for a long moment, then stepped aside without a word. They sat in the kitchen just like old times. The foundation staff had gone home for the day, leaving only the hum of the fridge and the distant clink of the wind chime by the back window. "I was wrong," she said quietly. "I was so wrong about you." He didn't reply right away. "You weren't wrong. You just saw what everyone else did. A poor black boy with no future. Easy to laugh at. Easier to leave behind." Jasmine's eyes welled up. "I was scared. Back then I wanted more. I thought if I just stayed on that path, climbed high enough, none of the pain from our past could touch me." "But it always does," he said gently. She nodded. "You healed people for food. I tried to fix myself by pretending I never needed help at all." There was a long pause. Malcolm looked down at his hands, then back up at her. "I'm not angry anymore. But I'm also not the same. What happened between us all those years ago, it pushed me, yes. But it also broke something. And I had to rebuild it on my own." Jasmine looked down. "I understand. And yet," he continued, "you're here." "I am." He exhaled. "So now what?" She smiled softly. "Maybe nothing. Or maybe we figure out if people who've been through hell can build something honest, even after all this time." Over the next few months, Jasmine stayed involved with the foundation. She volunteered quietly, never asking for recognition. Malcolm watched her, not out of suspicion but curiosity. He saw the way she connected with people, the way she listened now instead of speaking first. Slowly, bit by bit, trust began to form again. Not like it had been. Something new. Something earned. And while they worked, something unexpected happened. Children who had heard Malcolm's story started showing up. Kids with broken homes, struggling parents, invisible scars. They didn't want to be saved. They just wanted to be seen. Malcolm welcomed them all. He launched a new program called the Leftovers Project. It wasn't about food anymore. It was about potential. About taking what the world throws away and turning it into something powerful. The name caught fire. Sponsors came in. Schools invited him to speak. Other cities asked for chapters. One afternoon, an older woman showed up at the foundation, wrinkled, with a limp and worn-out shoes. She looked unsure, hovering near the door. Malcolm saw her and wheeled over. "You okay, ma'am?" Her eyes darted to his chair, then softened. "You don't remember me. But I remember you. You used to knock on my back door asking for scraps." Malcolm's heart skipped. She looked down. "I turned you away once. You looked so hungry. I never forgot your face." He just nodded. "I came to say thank you," she continued, voice cracking. "Because now I see who you became." Malcolm didn't say much. just smiled and offered her a seat. And they talked for hours. The story of the boy who healed for leftovers had come full circle. In the quiet moments, he still remembered the hunger, the dark nights in shelters, the aching in his legs when he tried to move them. But those memories didn't own him anymore. They reminded him that hope starts small. Sometimes it looks like a bruised sandwich, or a broken chair, or a laugh from someone who didn't believe in you. But hope grows. And when it does, it can heal not just bones and bodies, but hearts, communities, even the people who once turned away. Malcolm never asked Jasmine to stay forever. Some wounds don't close all the way, and that's okay. But one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting gold across the foundation sign out front, she stood beside him, watching the kids play. "You really did it," she whispered. He turned to her. "No, we did." She smiled. "Guess leftovers still have a little magic after all." And in that moment, under the soft light of a fading day, the boy who was once forgotten and the girl who once laughed stood side by side, not as what they were, but as what they had become. Human, flawed, and finally free.